Let's podcast alongside Joe Giglio. I'm Joe Ovies inside Eford Studios in downtown Raleigh. Thanks to Empire Properties and thanks to Copiers Plus. Check them out online at copiers-plus.com. I feel like Giglio probably needs Copiers Plus to print out reminders of what he did the day before.
I could use some of that. Little replay, little video review. What do they call it in soccer? VAR?
The VAR of our time at Crank Arm yesterday. Big thanks to everybody who showed up to our inaugural OG Summer Jam.
It was quite a jam, man.
Biggest thanks to Kenneth over at Butcher's Market, man.
The real MVP.
Kenneth was working up a sweat because we're now 2 events in a row with that Komodo Joe that we got to work through some issues. It was not your fault this time. We didn't drop the thing, but there was a little bit of an issue. And that thing runs. I didn't realize how hot that thing runs, man. But the steak tips were clearly on point. Man. And people kept coming back. Oh, yeah. They were so amazing. So good. So good.
And thanks to our friends at Crank Arm. I love that space that they have.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the inside, you got the outside, you're on the street there. There's a little bit of everything.
I enjoy the Galaxy Con. People watching.
Yeah, and then we had people walking by. I'm definitely going to be there. I got to look at the calendar, but
yeah.
That requires the meeting button. So we won't do that right now.
Well, I'll say this.
When Bush plays on like a random Tuesday in August,
mm-hmm.
I'm going to go and sit out there and just so I can hear the 2 songs they play for free.
They have more than 2 songs.
That's
neither here nor there. No, what I was going to say was spaces like that and that entire area of downtown Raleigh is important to kind of push out and show you the different little districts that exist in downtown Raleigh. And not to get too deep into the current events of the day, but there's a debate taking place right now with what to do with Red Hat. A lot of people forgot that Red Hat Amphitheater was supposed to be temporary. They've done an excellent job of making a temporary space almost feel like an actual real permanent venue, but that was never the plan. And the plan was to move it over, like basically a block down over to South Street. And there's some changes with downtown, and places like Crank Arm really need and thrive on the fact that there's concerts there over the summer to bring people downtown. The Sip and Stroll, we did a 919 Vice podcast about this a couple of weeks ago. The Sip and Stroll is very, very important, and they do great business on concert days. And there's been this pushback about, well, are we sure we want to put it there? What about this? And what about this? Well, what about the businesses?
Yeah.
You need these businesses to thrive, and having a concert venue in that specific location. And I think Bill King, who is part of the Downtown Raleigh Alliance, he was quoted in the News and Observer, and I thought he gave the best quote. Don't repeat the mistakes that happened 20 years ago with Downtown Raleigh that gave us the DPAC in Durham and a complete shift in business where all these great Broadway shows go there and comedians go there and other big bands go there. And Mamandy's been kind of left to, look at other ways to make that business work. You're looking at the possibility of that happening again. So if you enjoyed hanging out with us in downtown, these are things that are going on downtown too that are important. So get involved, make the public comments, talk to your district managers and everything else, the people who represent you, whatever they're called. As you can see, I'm very political, and go forward. District managers.
It's not a Panera.
Yeah. Talk to your supervisor. Speak to your supervisor.
Okay.
How you feeling, by the way?
This coffee I got locked out of our building today.
Yeah.
Because I went and got you the hottest coffee in the history of the world. I got technically a scone, but it's really a biscuit.
Okay.
Didn't bring my phone. Didn't bring my keys. Because the door's almost always open.
Yeah.
And you were here. So I was like, I don't need to lock up. I don't need to bring my keys. I don't need to bring my phone. So I'm sitting outside and I was starving. So I ate my biscuit and then I was like banging on the door and I'm like, nah, he's got his headphones on.
Yeah, I was editing.
Luckily, our Empire Properties people are literally 1 block away. So I walked over. My first time over there, I went up and Emmett was like looking at me like, how can I help you?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, I locked myself out.
You're on the struggle bus today.
And he was like, okay.
Look, all I know is that at some point yesterday around 6:00, Ethan's like, I'm taking him home.
Yeah, it was a good call.
And that was the end of it.
It was a great call.
And then because I know how to pace myself, was drinking the grapefruit Radlers at 2.9%.
Ooh, it was a good call.
It was a hot day. That Radler was hitting just right at Crank Arm.
I was on the strawberry lemonade.
That was your mistake. Those are 5.5%, I think.
Delicious. Well,
Yeah, I get that.
There were some stray shots of tequila in there too.
But I called my shot right at noon when we were setting up, and you had that first seltzer. I was like, dude, you're gonna be asleep on one of these high table chairs by 4 at the rate that you're going.
Yeah, it's close.
Okay, so you kind of woke up back in the G, not quite understanding how you got there. Do I have that right?
Correct. Woke up this morning. Even I was like, my car, I almost swore my car was outside. I saw the keys. We have like 30 drivers now. You got to remember. So
this is true. You have the kids that are driving.
So I got,
all that.
Jessica doesn't drink, so I knew she would have one of the cars. And then I saw my sister's car, and I was like, maybe that's what Ethan drove. I don't know.
Fair enough.
I got nothing.
Fair enough.
Because my kids can't drive stick, and my sister's car is a stick. So I was like, I don't know who drove that.
I think Jay Braves put it perfectly before we move on to some ACC matters. Jay Braves put it perfectly on Twitter. Drank beers and talked shit about Mac and aired a couple UNC grievances with Joe Ovies. Took tequila shots with Giglio, as he called me, one of his favorite UNC fans. Even met the homie Chip Patterson. I was wearing the Headland and Dillo Outcast shirt. Dope day at Crank Arm Brew. So yes, I think Jay Braves probably put it the best in that regard. So we are back from Charlotte, back from ACC Kickoff. The thing about ACC Kickoff and all the years that I've done, and I'm sure you've kind of picked up on this now that we're in you're amongst your new peers, Joe. You're not focused on one team. You're with me in the radio pit with all of our like-minded peers, right? That you're so caught up in, all right, let's get this thing going. The next guy's up. Let's interview, blah, 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 that you don't really have time to process what some coaches said. You don't have time to process what some players said. You don't have time to process what the commissioner really said. And you go back, you listen to it, and maybe something got picked up. But honestly, the most important thing that happened at ACC Kickoff is that I did acquire the Accomplished Greatness doormat. So now, in front of our studio door, we have Accomplished Greatness.
I'll also say we
ACC.
Got permission for that, since there are some things that we get that we don't really.
Oh, you mean
get permission?
You mean like that?
No, everybody wanted one of those, and I was able to secure one.
I think Jay put it right. No one steps on the logo. Have to walk around it. Yeah, you got to keep it like a locker room. You got to keep it like a locker room. Q. So that's how small the studio is. Yeah, man. What do you think we need? Technology is an amazing thing. Come on now. All right. So let's actually start with classic Dave Doeren and classic Mack Brown. I think you have been on this kick the last couple of weeks when we've been looking ahead of the season and what NC State's going to be about. Offense. You trust in Tony Gibson, the defensive coordinator. They don't have Peyton Wilson anymore. That's going to be a storyline to replace Peyton Wilson. But the State people are adamant about no, we're good. Don't sweat it. And you pointed this out to me that Doeren gave a classic Doeren response when you brought up the lack of Peyton Wilson.
The only constant there last year was Peyton.
Yeah.
And I keep trying to tell people, ask me about you this year, and I said, I think you might be overlooking the fact that one of the best players in school history is not there anymore,
right.
And how do you kind of, obviously you know how to move past that, but how do you kind of teach the whole group and get everybody on board to understand he was an eraser? He was a guy who did a lot.
Yeah, I don't think you ever replace a guy like that. I think the players around him have to improve. And so, the guys that were on the field last year playing with Peyton that are returning, Davin Vans, the Aiden Whites, those guys have to play better than they did last year and will. That's why you come back.
Yeah.
And then you recruit, you develop, and you add guys to the field that are going to make more plays, you hope, than the last guy that was in that spot. And so that's how you make up for one guy that did so much, because it doesn't matter who we plug in. He's not going to be the same guy, even if he has a great year. Peyton was the best player in college football on defense last year, and we realized that. I also like the fact that our defensive kids are hearing that how are they going to be good without him, right?
Yeah,
and so there's that. Those guys want to play well for each other.
Aha.
There it is. There we go.
We've been waiting. How can he... Because there's a lot of, I think he had said they came out smelling good from the end of last year, right?
Yeah, that's what he said.
I do think there's a lot of positive momentum, not only for the program, but obviously with it being the year of the Wolf, right? So Dave can be a little bit uncomfortable when people tell them, oh, they're going to be good, or they pat him on the back, right? That's not really when he does his best work. Think back to last year, how bad they were in Duke and that game in Durham, and miserable performance in the rain. And they really were able to figure something out after that. And really everyone was I mean, I did not think they would make a bowl last year, to be perfectly honest with you.
Fair.
So, Dave's a problem solver, but you hear that little motivation there at the end. He loves that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's part of why I'm starting to come around to your point that, yeah, maybe they do lose to Tennessee, but that's exactly kind of sort of where Dave would like to be because he knows how to rally the wagons,
Going back to the OG Summer Jam, we saw our guy Steve.
Mm-hmm.
Steve rolled through. And Steve is, despite the fact that NC State's been turning out pretty well so far in 2024, ACC championship, that's all he's ever wanted. They go to the College World Series. There's good hype around NC State. He's still your classic NC State fan waiting for like the bottom to fall out. And I asked him, I'm like, hey, what are you thinking? And he's like, oh, that Tennessee game. I'm like, man, the Tennessee game does not matter. And I know how cavalier that sounds.
Sure.
Because if you're Dave Doeren, you don't want to hear that. If you're the players, you don't want to hear that. Hell, if you're Jim Phillips, and we've had this entire conversation about the perception of the league, and I can hear Wes Durham right now telling you, come on now, that's important for the ACC. You're right. From the perspective of the ACC, it is important for NC State and North Carolina to beat Minnesota, by the way, for the perception of the league. But once you strip that big picture talking point out and you focus on what's important for NC State, you're looking at 2 games that you got to win one of. Which one matters the most? The Tennessee game or the Clemson game?
Well, I think that's old math, though. I think with the expanded playoff, I could see them going 10-2 with a win over Tennessee and making the playoff if they have a win over Tennessee.
But that's reliant upon Tennessee's season going the way people think Tennessee's season
exactly.
Go.
And we don't know.
We've seen this happen.
But we don't know with a shuffled schedule in the SEC what Tennessee's. I tell you what, I know Tennessee's talented. And,
sure.
And I really, 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 really like their coach. Like, I think he does an amazing job. But last year, I thought they'd be a playoff team. They weren't. Straight up, they weren't. They struggled. And they had a really good quarterback and it just didn't come home for them. So you're right. We don't know what's going to happen because last year, Florida State beats LSU. Everyone's thinking, well, they have that win in their bag and that'll be it. That'll carry them through.
My family.
And then my family ends up in the tank.
Yeah.
And, here we are.
That stuff matters, man.
With everything going down now. So I understand your point about if they lose that game, Dave has proven he knows how to get the team to respond to that. I would disagree, though, in the sense of the new paradigm gives you a chance. They are one of like 4 or 5 ACC teams who have a chance to get an at-large spot in the playoff.
I agree with you on that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how likely it is, but when you look at their schedule, it would seem to require that would be probably the best win. And then if you had lost to Clemson and didn't play for the ACC championship, you almost put yourself in that old Alabama situation of, we didn't have to play in the SEC championship game. We'll just show up in the playoff and kick your ass.
Could be that too. Could be that too. Over to Mack Brown at North Carolina. And the questions about the defense were the prevailing thing for UNC. And I thought Mack's response to, all right, so how do you fix the defense? Because he's always been talking about November. The last couple of years, he's talked about how they've dropped off in November. And it sounds kind of simple, overly simplistic when he's like, well, I got to fix it. I got to figure out why that's the case. And I think buried in classic Mackism is a valid point about the current state of college football.
And I got a lot of stuff to fix.
So how do you fix the defense? You bring Jeff Collins in. How's that working out so far?
Well, we're getting more depth, and we've got to play more players. And the first thing Jeff said on his Zoom interview with us was, I want to look complicated and be simple. I want to be really aggressive, and I want to make sure that we're playing a minimum of 2 deep. And I said, oh, my God, yes, and yes. Because we haven't played enough people. We get tired at the end of the year. We're playing good teams at the end of the year. We get people hurt. We have backups are transferring because they're not playing, so morale's not as good. So it makes way too much sense. At Texas, we played 2 deep all the time, but they're really good. Yeah. And we could do that. So we will have more depth this year, and we've got to force ourselves to play them. And I think that'll make a huge difference because when your starters, like Power, played 900 plays.
Yeah.
He's tired at the end of the year. Sid Gray's tired at the end of the year, but they also can't be on special teams because they're the only 2 playing, so your special teams are weaker. So play your starters less, develop better backups, and play your starters more on special teams.
You mentioned that morale. I thought that was like the most honest moment of the season that you had last year. I think it was the Georgia Tech game where you had said, like, there's going to be some people on our team who are happy because they're not playing and they're like, oh, wow, see what happens when I don't play.
It is.
And the thing is so complicated in college football now is your roster management, even when you're starting 5-0 and 6-0 and ranked in the top 10, top 20, you got to keep so many people happy in so many different ways. It almost feels like it's a completely different paradigm for you, you know?
Think about this. Right now, we've got 120 players, 85 on scholarship, and only 11 can play at a time. Mm-hmm. All the kids want to play.
Yeah.
Now, they like winning, but they like playing and winning.
Yeah.
And now you've got the transfer portal where they can be gone this afternoon. So, well,
that's what,
I think all of us in this business are going to have to start playing more players if we're not, because the ones that are developing talent, developing more depth, are overcoming injuries and having fewer people transfer. I'm hearing top programs across the country, coaches calling me saying, man, we can't keep a backup.
Yeah.
Right. They're all transferring. They're all mad. They all want to start. What do you do? And I've said, we're the same way. We hadn't lost but one starter, but we've lost backups.
And
play them.
So that was Mack Brown with us last week at ACC Kickoff.
Some of my state fans were mad at me about like not pressing Mack for this, that, or the other, or whatever stats he was using with us. And I was just kind of
we got like 12 minutes.
But also like Mack is like the most disarming person on the planet. Like
you fall for it every time. You fall for it every time.
He gets me every time.
He does. And he's a charmer and it works on you. I'm immune to it. But I like my conversations with Mack Brown. Right?
He gets me.
And I think Mack even knows I'm immune to it. I'm like, but I will say this about Mack Brown, why that makes sense and why I wouldn't necessarily push back. You have to remind yourself what Mack Brown is as a head coach. He is a CEO head coach.
Yeah.
Okay. And when he relays that story about having a conversation with Jeff Collins, the first thing that I was thinking of was, and hearing it back was, this is why Mack was essentially saying, well, this is why I make Gene Chizik available. The defensive coordinator can answer these questions for you. Because as the CEO, he's like, hey, we got to figure out why this isn't working. Well, technically, that's why I hired this guy to make sure that that works. And it looks like there's a difference in Gene Chizik, old school football guy, versus where Jeff Collins is, who's younger and understands where things are. And I think as the CEO, he recognizes, maybe a little too late, that, all right, we have to go in this direction. And I come out of that conversation and, what you know about Jeff Collins, coming away from this thinking, I think it'll work for the defense in terms of being in the proper positions, as we talked about with Michael Felder, doing your job, which then gets to, are the players as good as they've been advertised? Are the players getting the Mack Brown recruiting bump, the North Carolina recruiting bump? I will never forget, if there's any story from Steve Logan that will always stick with me when he was doing radio with us back in the day, was that he would get annoyed as he would joke. I'd find some guy in a tobacco shack in the eastern part of the state that nobody wants to go to, but I'd find him and he was rated a 2-star guy, a 3-star guy. And then Mack would find out that I'm talking to some guy. And then suddenly the guy that was a 2 or a 3-star guy that old Steve Logan found magically becomes a 4-star guy. How does that work? Well, it's because of the reputation of Mack Brown and everything else. So I think we're going to find out once and for all whether or not that talent's really there at North Carolina or there's a little bit of a bump. I trust Jeff Collins to have the scheme right. We'll see how it all plays out.
Yeah, I mean, they started 6-0 last year and then finished 2-5. The year before, they're 9-1 and then lose their last 4 games. So, I mean, he knows what the issues are, and he's also right. You take out the Georgia Tech loss from 22, and those are the teams that they've lost to: Clemson State, West Virginia, Oregon in the bowl game. So they're playing better teams at the end of the year, and he's right. They're worn down, but that's, again, as the CEO, that's part of him. He's got to make sure
it's on you
that they don't peak too early in the season, which obviously they've done the last 2 years.
The other takeaway from ACC Kickoff comes back to our conversation with Jim Phillips, ACC commissioner. Again, all of these things are available in the podcast feed. They're also on YouTube out there, especially the Jim Phillips YouTube individually is there. Highly recommend you watch that. And you were joking with Jeff Brom, the Louisville coach. We've made reference to it, but people didn't actually hear the exchange.
Oh,
yeah, we didn't put the exchange in the podcast. I saved it for today to kind of tie into the larger point that we've been making about the ACC and perception. And I thought this exchange with the Louisville coach and you was pretty amusing as to, wait a minute, why did you leave the big bad Big Ten, man?
You had a job, a perfectly acceptable job at a Big Ten school. Did someone like hold a gun to your head and make you take the Louisville job at your school in your hometown? Did somebody do that? Or did you realize maybe this opportunity I have at Louisville is just as good as the one I had at the alleged better conference?
Well, I think the ACC is a great conference, and there's a ton of parity from top to bottom. There's a lot of really good football
No, there
teams.
can't be a coach answer to that question. I came in hot on that question,
Well,
Coach.
I'll tell you this. Did someone hold a gun to my head? Yeah, my family did.
Your family?
Yeah, they did. All of them did. And at the same time, it was time. You know what? Louisville was a great job, and so I wanted to go as well. So I think that is probably the best answer. But you know what? I think any of the teams in our conference can play at a high level and do a really good job. And there's some elite teams that every year should be at the top. And we hope to get as many to the playoff as we can.
You see, what we do is we give you ice cream
Oh, no,
to just kind of like smooth things. Like, oh no, these guys are cool. They're gonna give us.
Yeah.
They're gonna give me ice cream, and then Giglio comes in with the, hey, let's start beef with the Big
Right.
Ten, shall we?
Right.
So yeah, that was the exchange with Jeff Brom that I thought that was amusing.
I tried to warn him, because we'd never talked to him
Never.
before.
Never.
You know, it was like I tried to let people know we're probably going to have a little bit of nonsense here or whatever. And then he comes in with the coach. No, sir.
No, we're not doing that.
Nuh-uh.
No, we're not doing that.
Not today, buddy.
Now, Manny Diaz at Duke probably had the more succinct answer about the ACC and the Big Ten. And this goes back to something that you were pounding the table with the Big Ten and Penn State in particular. Because what was Penn State's record last year? Off the top of my head, I can't remember it.
It was 10-2.
But you were just hammering, like, who have they played? Like, the offensive suck. So, yeah, of course, Manny Diaz be able to scheme this thing up and win some games based on defense because they're not challenged in that regard. And I thought Diaz was very blunt and fair about, basically this was a glorified way of him not knowing you were preaching this, saying Giglio was right.
This will be my 16th year in this league. And I think it's a much better league than it gets credit for. I sat through the Big Ten the last 2 years. Our first game against Purdue, coached by Jeff Brom, we beat him by one score. We won 22 other games at Penn State. Every one of them was by double digits. Most of them by well over 2 touchdowns. The league just doesn't have the depth that our league does. But it doesn't face the same reputation that our league does. We say, well, what about the teams at the top? Well, what about Duke? Right? What about Duke basically being 1 4th down stop from beating Notre Dame? What's important about Notre Dame? Well, Notre Dame was 1 4th down stop from beating Ohio State. What's important about Ohio State? Ohio State had the ball down 6 in Ann Arbor against everyone's consensus best team last year, going to win the game, okay? You know, and in their biggest rivalry game. So, and I get it's hard to compare scores and whatnot. Oh, by the way, let's go the other direction. The same Notre Dame who also got throttled by Louisville. Well, who's Louisville? Oh, that's a team that Florida State beat for the ACC championship game, but somehow by not enough.
Right.
And that not enough is what kept them out of the Final Four. So, yeah, I think it's okay. I think my issue is this. I don't expect people in other parts of the country to believe that. It doesn't matter what they believe. What's weird to me is the people in this part of the country don't say it loud enough. Right? You know what I mean? When you're trying to get a sense of believers, you got to start and you're inside your own church. You know what I mean? You're not going to get, if the people inside the church don't believe, you're not going to get the outsiders to believe. And so, look, it's another year. We all got to go do it again. But I just think this league, the quarterback play in this league, having been a defensive coach for a long time, it's tough, man. You know what I mean? It's tough. I mean, obviously, right down the road. I mean, having 2 top 10 quarterbacks drafted in the last 5 or so years. I don't know how many schools have done that. Like, that's just, you get stuff in this league you just don't get in some of these other leagues.
So again, that was Manny Diaz, and what he was talking about in terms of the belief and everything else. It kind of ties into Jim Phillips, the ACC commissioner, essentially trying to combat the perception problems with facts. Right? Here are the facts about the numbers. Here are the facts about who beats who and everything else. And you got to get people who talk about the league to not put. We saw this in basketball, and I put our interview with Jim Phillips on Reddit. And there was a little bit of pushback on the ACC Reddit about, well, why is, actually, I saw this on YouTube as well. That's the problem with Jim Phillips. We're talking about football and he's bringing up basketball. And I think people kind of missed the point in this exchange when talking about the perception of the league.
The ACC is much better than the Big Ten. I think people get lost in that.
I think,
and maybe it's the shiny object.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think about it as well. We'll go to basketball for a second, right?
Sure.
Like we've had a really good run in basketball, and not as strong in the number of teams in the tournament the last several years, but nobody's done more with less bids. And I think highly of the Big Ten. I came from the Big Ten. They haven't won a basketball championship since 2000, 24, 25 years ago, right? But the perception is the league is good. They have really good teams. I mean, Purdue was really good last year. And so at times it's part of we don't get the benefit of the doubt. And I think your examples are good. We've got really good coaches. We get really good players, and we have really good teams in all of our sports, starting with football. Right? It's not. We've won a lot of championships in the Olympic sports, but for anyone to say that we're not a top 2 or 3 conference in football, it just isn't paying attention. And we're not a top 1 or 2, 3 conference in basketball. They're not paying attention. So, I share your frustration.
Yeah, and that's essentially it. It's a frustration point with just about everybody involved, which is why I started that conversation with Jim Phillips about. This is something that's shared with us. It's shared with coaches. It's shared with him. It's shared with fans. We all agree that the conversation around the ACC sucks. Now the question is, how do you change it, especially when the results are there?
It's a combination of a lot of bad coincidences, right? Because think about it. The Big Ten, I'm sitting here telling you that it's Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan. Those are the 3 real powers in the Big Ten. Everything else is a real significant step down from them. And actually, the bottom of the league is embarrassing. Okay. But what did they do? They just won a national championship with Michigan. Okay. They just added a Washington team that played for the national championship. And they've added an Oregon program that was right on the cusp of being in the playoff last year. They have potentially the best young coach in college football now, and Dan Lanning. So, I mean, you're adding these 2 nationally relevant pieces to those 3 programs that are very good, by the way. The Big Ten's 3 programs are very good.
Sure.
Now you're the SEC, and you add Oklahoma, who's been in this thing however many times. And I think we all kind of agree they've taken a step back, but they're still freaking Oklahoma.
Oklahoma's going to struggle in the SEC.
And then Texas was in the playoff last year. So now you're the ACC, and you turn around and you and I both know SMU is going to knock some people off. They're going to have a fun year. My ticket says they'll be in Charlotte.
Which, by the way, not to get too deep on OG business here, but I was going over our business account.
Yeah.
Just making sure
my
there's
SMU, my hoodie.
What did you buy?
I got some.
I saw something from the SMU team store. I'm like, what did Giglio buy?
You're going to love it. You're going to love it.
So you're officially all in on the mistake.
But yeah, I am. But you can't exonerate. What I'm getting at is you can't exonerate Jim Phillips. He's right, to argue about what the schools have done in the ACC. But when the Big Ten adds 2 brands that are hot right now, right, like Washington and Oregon, who knows how long, what their sustainability really is.
Yeah.
And then Texas and Oklahoma, those are sustainable brands that the SEC has added. So you're the ACC. You added a fun team in SMU, but then you really did add 2 programs in football that are not going to help you at all. And quite frankly, they could be appendixes where you go out there and they explode on you, and now you're really in trouble.
Now, the only thing I would push back on is
on the field. Obviously, financially, they've established that it was a win for them.
I'm not even talking about that. What I'm talking about is the heart of the issue for the ACC isn't the teams that they added, because there's only so many teams that are available for you to add. Okay.
Well, the 2 that are really helping the Big Ten were available.
Okay. We don't need to relitigate that.
Yeah.
But I will say, and I think we can all find agreement on, if Florida State isn't going through the wilderness for 10 years, that would help. If Miami ever got their shit together for the first time outside of their smoke and mirrors 2017 season, where they got smoked by Clemson in the ACC championship game. Yeah, I mean, the turnover chain. Yeah, yes, because turnovers are sustainable year to year. I'm sorry, but turnover luck is real.
It's Manny.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So my point is, you are looking at programs that were brought to the league 20 some odd years ago to help, and they haven't. Miami never has helped. Virginia Tech was running hot at the beginning, but they've also been struggling to get past the Beamer era and where they are now. And again, Florida State, we can't stress that enough. So these are all things that some of it is related to the teams that you have having to be more consistent, not going and importing the help. But then again, maybe that's just the plight of the ACC. Every time they try to import teams, it's a bad fit. Yeah. It doesn't necessarily work out.
So we got 2 sound bites that you need to add to the board,
and that
from
is
Charlotte.
Yeah,
one was Philip saying nothing's for free, and the other was my man Dave Clausen. The mousetrap is the mousetrap.
Put that on a shirt. That's so good.
Housekeeping.
It's brought to you by Enovana. Check them out online, ENOVANA.com. Green Cleaning Solutions.
If you have mess inside your mansion or trash in your cabana, get it clean with Enovana.
All right, so the OG Summer Jam is done, which means all things are now focused on the podcast festival. We got little posters right here. We're gonna start putting these up. I don't know. Maybe we sign them. I don't know. Maybe people want them signed. I have no idea.
Breeze Through, like it.
So it's all there. Our friends at Breeze Through are sponsoring the podcast festival. Giglio, if he doesn't sell us out of hats, we will have access to hats at the podcast festival.
Yeah, I'm selling access. I don't know what you're talking about. There's no
That's what
actual trade of.
If there's access,
yeah,
I don't know if they're going to be gone or not, but we'll see.
Is this it?
That's it. That's the rest. That's the rest of them. Because you go, gotta give them away. I'm like,
no,
buddy, we need these at the podcast festival. We need access for them. Shout out to Casey. I don't have it. It's an Instagram story, but the white hat.
In France.
It's in France.
Paris. Love it.
It is. So access to hats in Paris, but you can get access to the podcast festival with the Shutdown Fullcast, Hand in the Dirt podcast. We will be there. Year full of it. Giglio, if you're full of shit, Giglio will make a return. We got bourbon we're going to give away. It's going to be a great time. All you got to do is go to the Rialto website, therialto.com, to buy your podcast festival tickets. And as Joe mentioned, it's brought to you by Breeze Through. Check them out, breezethrough.com. Download the app. You can save money on gas. They got locations across the triangle. Low key, the car wash at the Breeze Through at PNC Arena.
It's a winner.
It's a winner. I'm very particular about car washes. Yeah, I'm a big fan of just the laser washes. That one's a good one. So check them out, breezethrough.com. Also, big thanks to Matt Davis over at State Farm. You can check him out online, insuregarner.com, theoginsurance.com, or call him directly at 919-779-8277. They love it when you call up and ask them questions about the Matt Davis 12, who they think is going to win the Matt Davis 12. Is it Kansas State's time to shine? Is UCF going to shock the world? I don't know.
Utah?
Hit up Matt Davis. He'll know. 919-779-8277. Also, big thanks to Roback, corporate champion. Use that promo code OG20. I think we were kind of selling some people on Roback yesterday. We were certainly selling people on Roback at the ACC Kickoff.
Yeah.
Since that was your official wardrobe sponsor for ACC Kickoff.
Got my Roback hoodie on today.
Yes.
Very comfortable. Can't stress this enough. They have the most comfortable tops. They have great pants and shorts. Use that promo code though. OG20. Save 20% on your first order.
All right, let's get to the NFL. While we were at ACC Kickoff, NFL training camps opened up. The Panthers had opened things up on Wednesday. Yes. First day of camp was that Wednesday. And
Jack Nicholson departed me.
Yes. you are so hyped for training camp tweets, aren't you?
Yes, my favorite. They have to be breathless.
Look at this deep ball. The one that's been taken over is like people are shocked that Drake May throws a pretty ball.
Oh, weird.
You don't say.
He's really talented. Wild.
What? It's crazy. It's just, that's the one. Like, what did people think they were getting with the second pick in the draft? The second quarterback in the draft.
They've been bad mouthing him, and they put Brissett as the starter.
I don't get it.
We'll see.
But right now, he might be our top training camp king. But nobody's working harder. Nobody's more locked in than our guy, Bryce Young, ladies and gentlemen. This was on Twitter from one of these aggregator accounts, ML Football Dedication. Panthers' second-year QB Bryce Young is the last player on the field after practice in the rain, working on his core. Today is also Bryce's 23rd birthday. Comeback season incoming.
Nobody likes this at all.
So yeah, let me mute this real quick. There he is, working on his core in the rain.
Give me the likes though. Come on.
Oh, I mean, what we got here? We got 5.2 thousand hearts on this. But I went back, and so Josh Graham, our friend over at WSJS, was like apoplectic about the fact that Bryce Young on his birthday didn't have any birthday plans. He's like, it's the funniest 90 seconds you'll see. I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, it's like people were asking him what he was going to do on his birthday, and Bryce Young was just locked in. Like, he just was like, I don't know, whatever. I'm like, yeah, Bryce. I mean, yeah, Josh, that's just Bryce Young. So I tried to go and find the clip from 5 days ago of Bryce Young talking about his birthday. But see, I didn't think that was the most interesting thing. I thought the most interesting thing was the beginning of the press conference, where I know you've seen this before. I see it all the time. It's when they suddenly realize, we're getting into interview time, so let me completely change my demeanor.
Any like little break, any stories, anyone do something like to share? I feel like it's like a group thing. Anything to share with the group.
David Newton's got a whole summer catalog done,
Me? Not much. I was in, I see how you kind of transitioned to the interview real quick. That was good. We were about to have a good, but not much. I was in, I was back and forth. A lot of time out in California, some time out here. But
there it is. Boom.
Working out, getting ready for the year. Now it's here.
Do y'all see it? If you're watching on YouTube, you can see the facial expression. If you're just listening on podcast, you can hear the change in the voice. So there's something there with Bryce. You ain't just never going to see it. You're just never going to see it. He's never going to give you anything in these press conferences. I mean, you all act like he didn't hang around Nick Saban for a couple years, where he'll never give you anything in that regard.
And remains like the one quarterback who Nick Saban never said a crossword about.
Right.
Once.
Right. Like, yeah, I was listening to Mike Kay and Alex Zietlow, who cover the Panthers for the Charlotte Observer. They've got a podcast that's called Processing Blue. And I was listening to their most recent episode where they were just kind of going over the training camp storylines. And I thought Mike's overall point, and we got burned by this last year, I get it, but I actually think there's something to it, where now that Dave Canales is the one in charge, and there's truly a process with Dave Canales and what he's trying to accomplish. I mean, you can get caught up in the coach speak, but you can clearly see he has a plan, a process, and how he wants to run things. And you can see where what they've put around Bryce this year seems more in line with the entire concept of him being the point guard. In that you get somebody in Deontay Johnson, you get Adam Thielen to be your crusty vet, and then you obviously go out and get a wide receiver in Xavier Legette, who's his press conferences are going to be a joy to watch with that country accent, man. It's fantastic. But he's kind of a little bit of an X factor here. So what it comes down to ultimately is the offensive line going to be able to give Bryce Young time?
Can 40% of the offensive line make it through week one?
There's that too.
Did not happen last year.
There's that too. So you can see that the thing about the Panthers, and the frustrating part about the Panthers, is that with Dave Canales, you can see what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
The question is, can they stay healthy? And then can Bryce Young, with a healthy line, with the right players around him, show you the incremental progress that makes you go, okay, yeah, they've got something here, and they can cash in on the window. Because whatever you think about Bryce Young, as I'm trying not to spill coffee here.
Careful.
The market for quarterbacks right now is only going up until the NFL owners, and I'm going to get to this with Jerry Jones in a second, but until the owners find a way to separate quarterback pay from the rest of the salary cap, that there's this, you have your own quarterback salary cap, if you will, because I think that's where we're going.
Yeah.
Bryce Young is going to command a contract that will limit you going forward, because otherwise you're going to have to reset again, and then you're going to be going 10 years without having made the playoffs, right? Not just 6. So let's get to the headlines over the weekend. And I'm just going to read directly from the Washington Post. This is from Mark Mask. Jordan Love, Tua Tagovailoa signed massive contract extensions. Love lands a 4-year, $220 million extension with the Packers after his first season as an NFL starter. People are losing their minds because there's a small sample size. Small sample size with Jordan Love doesn't matter. It includes a record $75 million signing bonus, $155 million of it fully guaranteed, according to the Washington Post. And now that makes him the top quarterback in terms of money. Then on Friday, Tua Tagovailoa agreed to a 4-year deal, $212 million with the Miami Dolphins. This was $53.1 million average annual value. That puts him behind only Jordan Love, Joe Burrow, and Trevor Lawrence. Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence having recently signed deals. You put that in line with the Chargers and what they did with Justin Herbert, what Jalen Hurts did with their mega deals. 5 quarterbacks receiving contract extensions totaling more than $1.2 billion. Every single one of the quarterbacks and the money that they've gotten has all been, you can all point to what their potential issues are, right? So Justin Herbert, is it the coach? We're going to find out if it was the coach or if Justin Herbert has limitations. Jalen Hurts, he got paid based on 1 season, all right, which might be the outlier when it's all said and done. Joe Burrow's biggest question is availability.
Yes.
That's a problem, but obviously you're going to pay him because you think he's worth it. And then when you get into the matter of Tua Tagovailoa and Jordan Love, I think Tua is a prime example of where we are with the quarterback market. This is just the going rate. If you didn't believe that with the Kirk Cousins deal when he signed with the Atlanta Falcons and they drafted a quarterback anyway, then you're certainly going to see it now based on the Tua Tagovailoa situation. And this comes from somebody who has called the Dolphins out for what exactly they are. They are an exotic sports car that the minute they hit a gravel road, forget it. I mean, depending on how this season goes, I might just call them the Cybertruck of the NFL, where it looks pretty. It looks cool when you see it on the road, but the minute you put that thing on some mud, forget it. It is not getting out, and you need an actual Ford F-150 to get that thing out of the situation. But what is the bet? Would you rather pay Tua Tagovailoa the market rate for a quarterback right now, this next generation of quarterbacks coming up, or do you want to chance it in the draft? Do you want to overpay for somebody you don't think can do what Tua Tagovailoa under Mike McDaniel is running his offense, right? So that's just kind of what it is. And I don't know why people are freaking out over these quarterback salaries. That's just what it is.
It does.
Okay.
I mean, there's no way around it, really.
No, which makes Jerry Jones even more hilarious. So they're going through this whole thing with Dak Prescott. And it's like, what's your plan after Dak Prescott? Dak's people are just probably looking at Jerry going, you can talk your ear off, man. You can ramble through the Cowboys opening day training camp press conference. But what is your plan after Dak Prescott? Trey Lance? Is that your plan? Cowboys fans get behind that?
I hope not.
So I really don't understand. But look, man, Jerry did something that I think is hilarious. He's on that Matt rule. Let's just compare everything to Patrick Mahomes. So wait, this is not the right one. Let me find the right clip from. Actually, let's play this one. This is from my favorite aggregator, Ari Mirov on Twitter. Jerry Jones again says today, "I'm all in," and then goes on to explain what that means.
Here, I'm all in. I'm all in. Sometimes being all in means you narrow. You remove the months out here that are in the future, and you narrow it down to where all we're talking about is right now and the next playoff season, and that's it for everybody. We're all in. We're all in. It's all right there. Let's okay. We all got some things out here in the future, another 2 or 3 years on contracts, all that stuff. Let's all get in here. Zero right now in this. Dak's got his year contract. Let's focus right here. We all got a lot on the line for that playoff game. A lot of it. So you got to understand a weird way of looking at it.
Do you understand that?
Not really, but
Okay.
He does.
He mentioned
believes.
Dak, right? He's like, let's focus on this year. Let's see what happens. There's a problem with that. But in Jerry's world, my man is the Patrick Mahomes of quarterback contracts.
We are so involved in trying to see where we are with our situations that is a major part of seeing the leaves fall, seeing the time go by, seeing this day and this week, how they go by. And by the way, fault, I have in my life played option quarterback so many times and wait until the last leaf on the tree. And if you want to picture an pure option quarterback going out to the sideline, I have run that ball and kept it and not hand it off to the back, not pitch it back, not throw it. And I have run that thing all the way out to the sideline before I made the decision. Because I couldn't get whatever it took it wasn't right for me to make the decision. And so what our fans, what you're seeing, what we deal with is we're buying time. We're option quarterback, and then we're going on out toward the sideline, and we haven't handed it off. We haven't pitched it. We're trying to make our mind up what to do. Does that sound like Mahomes to you? A little bit? Okay. It do. It really do.
So, but you see, the problem, Jerry, is that the longer you wait, the more expensive it's going to get for you, right? The more expensive it's going to get for you. And I will scream this until we are off this planet, man, until we get wiped off this planet. It is cheaper for you to pay your quarterback now than it is to wait with that option as you're going to the sideline to make that leaf fall for the last second. No, Jerry, you're going to overpay for Dak Prescott. You'd be saving money on Dak Prescott. And don't give me the crap about, we'll just double franchise tag these guys. That's going to cost you even more money. Why do you think Kirk Cousins is the GOAT? Because the man had the old Washington Redskins do that to him. So why do they not learn this lesson? I don't pretend to be an NFL owner. I don't pretend to be a hockey owner. Like, how many times are we going to scream this at the Carolina Hurricanes? It's going to cost you more money the longer you wait to lock in guys you think are the real deal. So why do I understand this concept? But these guys think, oh, we're still going to get over on them. We're still going to get over. Nah, buddy. Dak's going to get over on you, which then leads to Jerry's kid talking about CeeDee Lamb. Oh, no. This is some galaxy brain shit that's happened in the Cowboys, man.
I welcome the opportunity that we've drafted well enough to have one of the best quarterbacks in the league, one of the best pass rushers in the league, if not the best, and one of the best receivers, if not the best receiver in the league. Welcome the opportunity. It's great that we draft like that, but it does take time, and it's certainly not easy. You look at a guy like Jefferson, they're not paying a quarterback. They're not paying anybody on their roster at this point. So it's a lot easier for them to stretch a little more, and we're just trying to work through reasonably with CD, reasonably with Dak, what we can do to make it work from an economic standpoint.
So here's my overall 5,000-foot view of what's going on in the NFL, and I think the Dallas Cowboys are the prime test case. You are seeing the NFL owners raking in as much money as they are with all their television contracts, the salary cap continuing to go up, and the prime positions asking for more money because they understand their value. But it's created a weird situation where there is no middle class in the NFL anymore.
Right.
And the quarterback position, that's only going to go up. I do think the Justin Jefferson situation, what's going on with CeeDee Lamb, what's happened with Tyreek Hill in the past, you watch as camp continues. Xavier Worthy with the Kansas City Chiefs, you talk about, to tie it back to the beginning of this conversation with training camp tweets, right? You're going to see people pulling their pants down and enjoying Patrick Mahomes to Xavier Worthy. Okay. Pleasuring themselves with these camp videos. But what is underneath that is what's going to happen to the wide receiver group is what happened to the running backs. you're going to go, why should I pay you that amount of money when I can go to the draft and pick a guy that will go right in line with my superstar quarterback that'll make this thing go? And so you're going to see this upper middle class, you're going to see this high class, the top tier, the quarterbacks, and then everybody's going to push back because the money has to spread everywhere else. And the wide receivers are the ones that are going to learn the lesson that the running backs did not that long ago. That's what's going to happen. And I think Jerry Jones and Stephen Jones are the ones who are going, whoa. No, we cannot be giving you all this leverage. And I think that's what's happening with CeeDee Lamb right now. You watch. Dak's a different matter altogether. Have you watched those clips yet from Patrick Mahomes and Xavier Worth?
Not those clips. I saw him, the Muppet one.
Oh, what are the Raiders doing,
guy
dude?
like took the Muppet from the
Kermit
fan.
Yeah. Made him Patrick Mahomes.
It was like doing something. And
can I go on DraftKings right now and look at the spread for those Raider games?
I think you can,
because
can't be high enough.
Go over. just give me the Chiefs, please. Give me the Chiefs, because they're going to absolutely crush the Raiders for that. Speaking of leverage and things like that, you want to buy and sell with confidence. That's why you go to Hometown Realty. Check them out online, myhtr.com. And that way you can get some insight on new construction. You can understand what your value is in this market. Don't take none of this guaranteed offer stuff. You're leaving money on the table. You don't want to know your worth. Be like Dak.
That's right.
That's what Hometown Realty is all about, Joe.
Kirk Cousins would have been a heck of a real estate agent.
Yeah, he would have.
Knew how to play the game.
Exactly, just like Hometown Realty. Very excited about the fact that we've gone a week incident-free with Giglio. To and from Charlotte.
A lot of driving this week. Oh my gosh.
No traffic violations. No need to contact Whitaker and Haber, which is
what
a good
win.
thing. No incidents yesterday at Crank Arm, even though you were super litty. So that's good. I mean, we'll find out.
Yeah.
You know, everybody deals with their own level of anxiety. Maybe you find out you said something that you shouldn't have said. Okay. I mean, I know Kevin did, but that's another matter altogether. So we don't need to discuss that. So anyway, check them out online, wh.lawyer, attorneys and counselors at law. You know what would actually help you out with a little bit of your hangover? What? Happy and Hill. I think you need a break. You need a hangover break.
Let's take a break. Let's take a hockey break. Brought to you by Happy and Hill.
Yeah, you need a hangover break, man. That's what you need.
The Allman Brothers.
That would help you out, right? Get that burger bowl. That might help you out.
It's new.
Are those out?
They're out.
Because I might pick that up on my way home today. Get some lunch. So I might be doing that. And I can use the app. That way I can just pick it up on my way home.
Order it. Be ready for you.
That's right. That's the way to go. So check them out. Happy and Hail. The app is great. A lot of goodies that go along with that. So again, we thank them over at Happy and Hail.
There's the lightning round. There's the lightning round.
The lightning round is going to be brought to you by Crank Arm today. Check them out, crankarmbrewing.com. Again, shouts to everybody who dropped down by Crank Arm yesterday. And as we mentioned, there's a lot more than just beer.
Yeah.
You were enjoying the hard seltzer. Chip was enjoying the margarita.
No, he was having a TNT.
Oh, was he?
Summer breezy drink.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I saw that he had the margarita.
Yeah.
Hey, you want an Eagle Rare shot like we did at one point? You could do that too. Do you remember the Eagle Rare shot, Joe? No? There's a picture of it.
Oh, no.
Hold on a second. Let me pull this up real quick. No. It was texted to me.
I would have thrown up if I had Eagle Rare because I
got this. Look at this. Ethan took a wonderful picture of me and Skinny. Hanging out. I got access to my own hat, so that's always good. Let's see. Oh yeah, here it is. We got us. I think Paul's in here. We got Joey and Tanya. We're all holding up the Eagle Rare, baby. You don't remember this?
I had tequila.
Was this? No,
I had tequila.
This was no, Joe. Look closer. That's brown liquor.
Oh no, let me see.
That's brown liquor in that. Okay, that is brown liquor. That's an Eagle Rare shot. You don't remember that?
Look at my face.
You're so flustered.
Who bought us Eagle Rare?
Kevin.
He's a nut.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Kevin was the one who
What
did that.
the what?
Yeah, he's right in the shot too.
I
See?
know
he's right there.
is, but I don't remember.
You don't remember that?
No.
Wow. Have a good time at Crank Arm like Joe did, apparently. Doesn't even remember that stuff.
Explains a lot.
It really does. Now that I'm looking back on this, a couple other NFL items that we can kind of go through in the lightning round. The NFL and the NFLPA have begun discussions on a potential 18-game season. Just do it already. Just come on. We know where this is headed.
But please make sure it includes the extra open date on the schedule.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this thing, it all comes down to money and it's money, it's television deals, it's all that. I totally understand that. From NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell, this is from the Washington Post. He expressed his preference for an 18-game season during a broadcast interview at the draft in April. Goodell reiterated that view at the conclusion of the owners' meetings in May, saying, "We would do it in the context of reducing the number of preseason games. We think it's a good trade." The coaches, of course, the teams like training camps. They like the preseason games because they're looking at the rosters and everything else. Of course, the league, the owners are looking at it from the perspective of, we want more money. The only way to get more money out of the television contracts is to have more games.
It's a lightning round. It's the lightning round.
Our friend Scotty McCreery is on tour.
Yeah. Can we get him to do a lightning round jingle for us?
Eventually, but then you start messing with their money when it comes to that.
Oh, okay.
But he did send you. It's Adele.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Wait, Scotty, this is for lightning round? Is this from? Oh, this is Bluegrass for Adele. No. I don't need to hear someone like you in Bluegrass form.
Scotty sent it to me. 10:40. And he goes, this popped up on here. Here's another one for Ovies.
We'll send those to me. We'll focus on those tomorrow in Hey Joe. Again, one other NFL item. You've got the NFL players wanting to modify media locker room access for privacy reasons. The bottom line here is they don't want the media coming in while they're naked. They can write paragraph upon paragraph upon paragraph, but all what it really comes down to is, hey, in the pandemic, when we didn't have locker room access, we kind of got used to not having people leer at us while we're, trying to get dressed or whatever. And then when they brought the reporters back in, they're like, "Oh man, you don't need to see me air drying."
I forgot about all this. Yeah.
So they're trying to make it so that they're decent.
Sure.
When they do those interviews. One other media access note: get ready for, gets back to TV, coaches doing in-game interviews with the sideline reporter.
This is the NFL?
This is the NFL.
I mean, they're not going to be any good.
No, they're not. They got to get better in the second half.
Yeah. I got to look at the tape.
We really got to stop them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They're trying to make these TV shows, man. Stop it. Just stop it.
Get a game.
Lightning round.
In the Olympics, did you watch any of the opening ceremonies on Friday?
A little bit. I saw the boats.
Okay.
Yeah. Not a lot.
I had it on television yesterday, and Jacob walks in. He wakes up. He walks in. I'm sipping coffee. It's just on in the background. The Olympics is perfect background television. At some point, they were doing like BMX biking, and then he walks in while they're doing water polo.
Okay. Like the hardest sport on the planet. Yeah.
That's what I tried to explain to him. He's like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, "Dude, it's the Olympics. It's water polo." I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Because that's what you do during the Olympics. Don't give me any of this other stuff. I want the weird sports." And this is the hardest thing you could possibly do. Of course, the U.S. was getting crushed by Italy.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Crushed by Italy in this game. And then they go over to the gymnastics. Everybody's, watching Simone Biles and everything else. And then I watched some of the swimming. But, what's interesting, here is my early takeaway from the Olympics. And it's all focused on the basketball tournament. And it goes back to the why I brought up the opening ceremonies. When you don't watch the Gojira performance, the heavy metal band from France doing their thing, which was pretty amusing, go back and look at the LeBron James imagery. Go back and look at how they're setting LeBron James up. He was the flag bearer. I would have preferred that because it's the Olympics. It's not like LeBron James needs more attention. The Olympics are for more like the Katie Ledeckis, the Simone Biles, that sort of thing, right? LeBron is LeBron, man. He doesn't need any more stuff. But then it dawned on me with the way the television has been focused on LeBron and how calculated LeBron is, and you tie it back to the draft and bringing Bronny on to the Lakers, this summer and how things are playing out is the official kickoff to LeBron James's final season in the NBA. They're going to go and win gold. He's preening for the cameras. He is the focal point of this team. They're going to win gold, theoretically, even though this tournament's a lot tougher. And then he's going to play with his son in the NBA, and then he's going to walk off. I think this is what it's all about. It comes off as fakey.
I like it.
It comes off as fakey. Nobody's more concerned with his image and manipulating the imagery. I mean, you think Michael Jordan was good at it. LeBron James is just as good at it. He's never going to announce it, but it's not going to be a Mike Krzyzewski, this is it, my farewell tour. It's not a Kobe Bryant, like we understand what's going on. It's going to be how is he still doing this? LeBron James is still the best player on the roster, even with all these other guys, which of course causes Boston Celtic fans to be annoyed because in this last win over Serbia, Jason Tatum did not get off the bench. Now, Kevin Durant, it's funny. Kevin Durant should have been the story in the game against Serbia because he was a perfect 8 of 8 in the first half. So Steve Kerr, after the fact, says, yeah, I get it. He didn't play, but it's a matchup situation. He'll see some time in the next game. You got to remember that Kevin Durant didn't play any time in these exhibition games leading up to it. So I had to get him involved. The Boston fans are acting like Jason Tatum is some dude that he's not. Like, I get that Jason Tatum is good, but now because they won a championship finally, they're trying to put him on that same level as LeBron, KD, Steph, etc. I don't know if he's there yet. Is he there yet?
I don't think so. But
I mean,
he's really, really good.
He's really good, but I just don't know if he's there yet. But yeah, all the focus is on LeBron James right now. And I'm telling you right now, man, it is the unofficial kickoff to his retirement.
His farewell tour.
Yes, we'll call it the farewell tour. Does he? But here's the question: when it's all said and done, does he sign a one-day contract with the Cavaliers to retire as a Cav?
I mean, he doesn't have to, but
just saying, might be something. Might be the kind of thing that he does. Big thanks to Nature's Relief Hemp Store. Check them out, naturesreliefhempstore.com, RELEAF hempstore.com. Joe does not need anything to help him with his sleep today.
No.
He did it to himself. He's good. He's good in that regard.
Apparently I was doing shots I didn't even know about.
You really don't remember?
No.
Dang, man.
No.
All right. Well,
explains a lot.
I'm glad you didn't have one of those colas from Nature's Relief.
No, I had a soda.
You might have crawled. You might have crawled underneath the Komodo, Joe, for a nice warm spot to sleep. That would have been bad. Really, really bad. Anyway, check out naturesreliefhempstore.com. They got all sorts of stuff.
The smarter way.
And yeah, the much smarter way. That way you don't have to deal with any of the anxiety that Joe Giglio is dealing with right now. So again, naturesreliefhempstore.com. I don't know. Maybe stuff your face with two roosters.
Well, we did that in Charlotte.
That's true.
Two roosters. Ball.
Two roosters was the big hit while we were in Charlotte. That was a good time. Check them out, tworoosters.com. I cannot look, they got all sorts of great flavors, but I cannot recommend the dairy-free, gluten-free cookies and cream that they have over at Two Roosters. It's really, really good.
I've never been so excited for it to be a new month as I am with Two Roosters. So Thursday is a new month. I can't wait to see what Jared has cooked up for us.
It's going to be good stuff. Although it was funny now that I think about it at kickoff, because you brought the Shaboomy Blue. The people who were walking, you could tell who had the Shaboomy Blue because they had the blue mouth thing going on. So it was pretty funny seeing Wes just like not a care in the world, man, eating the Shaboomy Blue. I think at some point Josh Graham stole some and he's trying to do his radio show.
Oh, I gave it to him.
Oh, okay. I don't know why you'd give it to him. Just saying. Big thanks to bugsbite.com. Check out Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. It is a gross time of the year.
I got so many ants. I was literally texting Hayes at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
Hey, man.
What do we gotta
SOS. Need help.
We need the help here.
Please.
We need the help. So
Please
check
help
them
me.
out, bugsbite.com. They can help you. You can pay as you go. You can bundle and save with both Mosquito Authority and Pest Authority. They have all sorts of systems that go beyond just those quarterly treatments, right? If you're worried about insects, flying insects, they got misting systems that you can put in your patio to keep that stuff really in check. A lot of great options, and it's all at bugsbite.com. That is going to wrap it up for today's show. Hopefully, Giglio will be a little bit more with it tomorrow. Hopefully, he remembers today's show. Maybe. Kind of, sort of.
Let's piece it back together. At least there'll be video evidence.
We'll see you Tuesday.